Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar because we're close.
Okay.
I think people will all be joining that are in a waiting room, I think.
Kids are watching it too. So
Okay.
he's really interactive, which is great. I like that.
Okay, so I think we need to hide this off, you know.
Okay.
That's all right. You can just wait, I mean, it's so much.
Well, for this, we're not using any of it, I don't think. We're just listening to him tell us what we're doing. Yeah, on my personal one, I only have QGIS.
Okay. So
Hey, come on in. It's good to see you.
So welcome everyone to our webinar today. I'd like to introduce Aaron Ott. He is a land surveyor and chief of the Office of Data Services and Technology in Caltrans Division of Research, Innovation and System Information. So today he's going to talk about and demonstrate some of the real world work that Caltrans is doing and performing in the field of GIS. And he'll talk about his skills that government agencies like Caltrans are looking for in GIS professionals. And then we'll have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please post your questions and chat. And he was looking forward to meeting students at the end in this, in this webinar. So thank you so much, and take it away, Aaron.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So yeah, so today that's definitely the big part of the goal. Is today I'm going to be talking to you all about Caltrans GIS initiative, our GIS for All, is where we're striving to enable the power of GIS for everyone. And when I talk about everyone, that's a pretty lofty goal, but it really is everyone. And I'll describe that a little bit more as we're going through this. So if you guys want to ask questions as we're going through, feel free. I'm happy to engage as we're moving along. And also I am remotely in Oregon today at DOT, so I am on a small screen. So if you could help me with that, that would be great. So first of all, the introductions. If you guys, I've included this, if you want to reach out to me, I'm always happy to talk with anybody. Here's my email. And I am, as you mentioned, the Chief of the Office of Data Services and Technology here within the Division of Research, Innovation, and System Information in Caltrans. But with that being said, that doesn't tell you much. So what my office is actually responsible for is I'm responsible for our Enterprise GIS system here at Caltrans, our Enterprise linear referencing system here at Caltrans, and our highway performance monitoring system, along with quite a few of our federal reporting requirements and our visualization group. But some of what you'll be seeing today is this is some of the exciting stuff. And during my time prior to this position, I was actually with the North Region of Caltrans, and I worked a lot in project delivery. I've done a lot of the construction work on highway projects around Sacramento. I've had a lot of real life experience doing that, along with a key role in implementing Mobile LiDAR. I also helped implement UAS technology here at Caltrans, and I built our North Region GIS team from the ground up. So a couple of things I'll be talking about today. I figured it never hurts to hear some of this, especially from somebody like me that's an active hiring manager out there. I was going to talk about some of the common mistakes that I see when people are applying for our jobs. I was going to talk about some of the most needed GIS skills that organizations want and give you guys a little tips. about how to, if you don't have some of those skills, how to acquire them. And then we'll talk about the GIS for all at Caltrans and some of what we're doing. So today is one of many that I've been doing with outreaches, and I'm going to talk about how Caltrans is using GIS to change the way we do business. As part of this change in our organization structure, we've started what I've been calling the GIS for all that you've heard me talk about. That's the logo you see at the top. We're going to open up the power of our data through simple to use GIS web applications, which will allow everyone and anyone to use GIS. This initiative will also complement our data governance program, CT Data, and ensure that all data is at Caltrans is authoritative, trusted, and accessible. So this is important because a lot of times our GIS professionals, they don't think about data governance as being part of the GIS and geospatial world. It's critical. In order to have successful programs, you have to have good data governance. You have to trust that data. So this is one of the things that a lot of people come to me and talk to me. And because of my role as a GIS manager within Caltrans, they often come to me and ask to join my team. And because we do a lot of really cool stuff, I have quite a few people that do that. So this is a question I always ask of everybody is, are you a GIS user or a GIS doer? And this is important. It's a big distinction that you've got to think about in your careers as you're moving forward. So both are very, very important roles. But the way I define it is a GIS user is somebody's using GIS to support a business need through ArcGIS Pro or using a web application. These can be very complex GIS processes. And the GIS doer is somebody that builds the GIS maps, applications, and processes, which all users can access. Every team that I've managed consists of these GIS doers. We build products and services to support all of the Caltrans GIS users. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the GIS professionals. And when I say GIS professionals, it's a little overview about what we call the GIS professional here at Caltrans. And if you are interested in potentially pursuing a career with the state of California, these are some of the GIS classifications that are out there. For your information, the research data analyst is our entry-level GIS classification. Our research data specialist is a high senior GIS specialist. And then we also have a supervisory series. And you'll see these classifications throughout different state departments. So just for your information, the job market is very hot right now. So part of what I'm going to be talking about today is how to make you that top applicant. My current research data specialist position actually had 43 applicants, of which we only gave interviews to 5 people. So how do you get in that top 5? And that's a little bit about what I'll be talking about here. When I get this many applications, I'm looking for reasons to screen people out. So we want the top candidates, especially for a GIS research data specialist too. Like I said, that's one of my senior GIS specialists. These are GIS specialists that actually implement organization-wide projects for Caltrans. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the topics that will give you some insight into common mistakes that I see people making on job applications. It'll refer to both government sector, but some of it also definitely goes over into the private sector. And hopefully you'll take this to heart and it'll help you get that next interview. So this is something that I can't stress enough. Read all the instructions carefully. If there's something you don't understand, make sure to reach out to the hiring contact and ask. In my experience, they are very helpful, whether it is private sector or government. And you can see on this slide that, like in our state positions, it's always going to be very clear and spelled out who that person is. So the last position that I advertised for had a lot of applicants, and they did not read these instructions. This is probably part of why I'm bringing this up. So this was for a senior level GIS specialist I had, and I expect somebody applying for a senior level GIS job of mine to have good written communication skills and good understanding of what they're looking at. So I do add a statement of qualifications to my advertisement. And so what a lot of people don't understand out there is when something like this is put on a job, it's because we're looking for specific things. In my case, this is really a writing test. It's really to see if you can communicate. And I want to see if the applicants are thinking like a senior GIS specialist in their responses. Have you taken on leadership roles in different jobs? It doesn't have to be at work. Have you taken on a leadership role at school? Have you taken on a leadership role in a voluntary organization? When I see a lot of common mistakes on an application, such as what I saw here, in this case, statement of qualifications, most people don't understand what that is. So I do get worried. I go out there, I check. And so in this particular case, I saw about half of my applicants didn't fill out the statement of qualifications correctly. So I went out and did a search on Bing. I did a search on Google, and I found actually how to write a statement of qualifications. I have a link here. It was the number 2 search on Google and the number 3 search on Bing. And so I bring that up because, yet again, ask those questions. Be clear. If you're not sure, go out and find out from that hiring person. In this case, I'm showing you a couple. These are real live things that were done. So our process has the ability to bypass certain applications. And so one of the things you can bypass as part of the application process is the statement of qualifications. So these are a couple of reasons why people bypassed in this last job. Needless to say, this was a requirement for the job. They did not get an interview. So you don't want to be that person. It is important that you understand that a position can have minimum experience as well as minimum education requirements. So, and that's why a lot of our state of California positions, there will always be a link, such as the one I have, to where you can go and see. And the reason I bring this up is because you can be a highly educated person and not meet the minimum experience requirements for especially some of the senior level GIS positions. So just a quick overview so that you guys understand that. It's some of our entry level you can get into pretty much across the board. But you can see like a master's degree actually counts as 2 years of experience and a PhD counts as 3 years. So our high-end specialist positions, if you're straight out of school without some of that experience, real world experience, you're not going to be able to get these jobs. And the reason I bring this up is because let's say I offered you an interview because you were the best candidate and you absolutely blew everybody else out of the water. You were definitely the person. I still can't offer you a job because you don't meet these requirements. And my humans resource division will not let me hire you. So make sure you fill out your experience. A resume makes it harder to show your experience, but if a position uses an application, such as state service, describe the work you're performing, the type of software scripting you're doing, and what are the actual names. Take this and use it to your advantage. Give the hiring manager information. I received this job description, and as you can see, it's pretty limited. I can't actually tell much from this. I can make some assumptions, but I can't hire somebody off of assumptions. I can assume that they're doing programming. I can assume they're doing pretty high level programming, but maybe they're not. And I don't know what language they use. I'm typically looking for Python type scripting. Were they the lead on the project? That I don't know. So here's something that I did to show you that you can actually use these application formats to your advantage, and you can show all of your experience. So this is one of my previous jobs where I listed in the position was just a district equipment and vehicle coordinator. So that doesn't tell you much, but I listed, yes, I did do vehicle, I did do equipment, but I'm also was acting as a lead worker, which is our party chief position for our surveys. I was also a lead representing survey strategic directions. I implemented Civil 3D, I implemented MTLS. So you give a full overview of what you did. Use this to your advantage, and use also nonprofit experience you have, use school projects. A lot of that can be entered into these applications. So all of you can get that next job interview. Just make sure to pay attention, follow instructions, ask questions if you are unsure, and describe the details of your past positions thoroughly. Take your time, do it right, and all the pieces of the puzzle will come together for you. So now we'll go into a GIS, some of the GIS skills we're looking at. So these are pretty important things to know out there if you're going for a GIS type position. At Caltrans, we use ArcGIS Enterprise, which is a secure organization-run version of an ArcGIS Online. Most applicants don't have any experience with ArcGIS Enterprise. That's not unusual. I'm not expecting people to have that type of experience. If you think that the position you're competing with requires an ArcGIS experience, basically, there's plenty of information about there out on the Esri webpage. So while I don't expect you to have that experience, I do expect you to go out, do a little research and understand it. But one tip for you out there is that it's close enough to ArcGIS Online that if you're familiar with AGO and understand publishing workflows in AGO, you'll do just fine. Just concentrate on some of what I've got up there on the screen, concentrate on your experience with REST services, and have examples of your work ready to demonstrate. And so with that, I'm going to jump over and show you here. So this is how I do. This is how, oh, sorry about that. I apologize. I'm not quite used to Zoom, so it acts a little bit different than what I'm used to. So, so here's actually the story map that I built for my last job application to give you a little insight. So if you're interviewing for a GIS job, why not use a GIS product in that interview? Why not show off what you're doing? So, like I said, this was actually for the position I currently hold. I went and I used this in my interview to show off some of the work I had done in the past. So you'll see some of the same type of stuff. It shows a couple of the links are a little broken. This was a high-level manager job, so it had some of the information that we had to talk about with some of my vision. And you can show off some of your accomplishments. In this case, my team was actually picked as a AASHTO Innovation Initiative Award. And so we were actively going around talking to other DOTs about the work we had done. You can talk about some of your applications. Here's a Survey 123 application I built to detect ADA. You can talk about a lot of stuff in here. And you can show off your work. And this is a great way because it's interactive. And you can actually go in and you can show the hiring managers some of what you've done. And then one of the things I recommend is at the end, you can throw in little stuff about yourself and some of the work you've done and some of your accomplishments. It's a great way to really highlight what you have done in the GIS world as you're going through this process. So another one of those skills that you absolutely have to have in GIS is scripting. Come prepared to talk about your scripting experience. Not having real world experience won't make you not get the job, but understand what scripting is and how to use it in the proper way. So this is something that everybody's looking for, everybody across the board. I'm up at a peer exchange with many DOTs around the US here this week, and everybody's looking for automation of GIS processes right now. It's one of the big points. So come prepared. If you don't have that experience with the specific language, like application or my interview questions will always specifically ask for Python and JavaScripting. If you have experience with other scripting languages, especially, or programming languages, especially object-based, they're close enough, I know, that you can learn it pretty rapidly. So additional knowledge about ArcGIS Model Builder or FME Flow, those are both really, really good skills too. They'll definitely put you way ahead of the curve as you're going through this. Another thing that I see very, very consistently across the board is mobile field data collection. So big hot topics right now, especially in the GIS world, Survey 123 and field maps. So they're in super high demand. And I would recommend that you become very familiar with both of these. And if you haven't actually done a previous work or school project with either of these, I would recommend that you do a personal project, that you go out there and you actually come up with something that you go and use these field data applications on your phone and go collect some data. Get that experience so that you can talk about it. So, because me as a hiring manager, that tells me just as much about your personality as if you have that experience from work or school. The fact that you did that extra step to go out there and get that experience so that you can talk to me about it. Another thing that I always bring up is if you have experience with other data collection efforts, Trimble's a big one. There's a lot of people use different Trimble products to go do field data collection. Talk about it. Let them know that you know how to go out there and do some of this work. And so, like I said, everybody always be sure to show something and show your work. I jumped a little bit ahead in my presentation slide, but I already showed you my story map that I did for my interview, but I think that's a great way. Another thing that you can do, take this image, for example, that you see up here. So this actually shows work that I've done in the DOT where I'm integrating ArcGIS Pro with Civil 3D, our engineering software. So what you're seeing here is on the white side, that's actually ArcGIS Pro. You see me going into an Enterprise geodatabase, and on the right side is that same Enterprise geodatabase connection in Civil 3D. So you can show some of these real world experiences and projects that you're doing, even through some images or pictures, much like this one. So now that I'm done with the what I thought was important to get across to everybody, maybe not the most fun or the most interesting, but now I'll get into some of the really cool stuff that we do. And I'll show off some of our toys and some of what we do and some of the work that we do here at Caltrans. And I'd also like to encourage you, if you like what you see, to come join our team. We're always looking for good people out there. So GIS for all is more than just a saying. What I'm working towards is a big vision that we become a national leader in GIS products and services using a future-forward enterprise approach. We're going to provide open and transparent data that is authoritative, trusted, and accessible to all. So, and when I say all, I mean all. We're working on processes. Historically, the DOT has been closed. You can't find our data. It's not out there. So we're working on a lot of processes right now to get our data open and externally available. We're working with the California Open Data Portal. We're starting to publish up more data. We're starting to get a lot of that information out there to where everybody can use it. We're becoming more transparent and more open to where everybody can see what we're doing. And even this talk today is part about what I'm doing with that. I'm getting out there to talk about what we're doing so that we're not this closed door that nobody knows about. So when you go into a group like mine, our GIS infrastructure is absolutely massive. We have 2 internal enterprise portals and 2 external enterprise portals, along with organization ArcGIS online accounts. This is actually one of the really, really cool things about working at Caltrans with GIS. If you like all of the tools to be available to you and all the licenses, we have pretty much all of the tools and all the licenses and infrastructure available. This truly, truly empowers our GIS doers. Now, with that being said, it is a government state department. So sometimes you got to deal with some of the PB and J, the processes, bureaucracies, and jams. But you learn with time how to deal with that and overcome some of it. So we use an internal sites configuration, which is named the Geospatial Enterprise Engagement Platform, or GEEP. This is what allows our GIS community to easily find our data and contacts. And a sites page is a ArcGIS Enterprise version of an ArcGIS Hub page, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you've gone out to like open data and sites, most of those now are ArcGIS Hub pages. But I was going to show you a quick interactive and just show you some of this, because I know that PowerPoints get pretty damn boring. So I figured I'd go and show you. So this is cool. So it doesn't look like a lot of our normal like hub page. Like I said, we've customized this one up for our needs. But this talks about, what is our GEEP, what our divisions, what our initiatives are, our technology offerings. We have tabs that actually talk about what our different districts are, where they're located, where their headquarters are, and then some of the programs within Caltrans. So if people don't know anything about GIS, they can come to the sites page in our organization, and they can come find out information, where to go get data within our organization. Or if they know a lot about GIS, they can come in and they can actually find some of our applications. And this is pulling straight from our portal. So you're getting all of this information live. When you click on one, it'll actually take you right into the application so you can go explore it. And more importantly, this sites page gives you all of our contact information, talks about how to request things. It talks about how to contact people if we have issues and who our primary contacts are around the state. Like I said, we're a huge organization. We have lots and lots of people. So one of the other cool things is that we also build many, many internal web mapping applications. And this empowers all of our GIS users. So remember what I talked about with a GIS user versus a GIS doer? So here's an example from the North Region that I'll talk about a little bit. These are highly, highly, incredibly useful things. So web mapping applications truly empower GIS for all of our users. So you don't have to know ArcGIS Pro. You don't have to know any application to go in and use a web map application. So our people are truly, truly loving these applications, and they're getting built up for various things all over Caltrans. So you can see here, yet again, we love story maps. They're great ways to organize stuff. So this is actually a story map that organizes different web mapping applications. And so you can see along the top here, we have applications for our cold inspection program, broadband middle mile control, and some requesting. But I'm just going to stick right in this one and go in and show you. So what you're seeing here is actually active project information for Caltrans. So our people can come into these interactive web maps. They can come, they can click this information, and they can get live information on our projects. So this is very, very useful. You can get contact information and many, many, many more. This data is coming from our project management system. So it's all live data that's showing a whole bunch of the information that Caltrans is doing. And then when you go, you can see many, many of the active layers. The reason this is important is because, say I had a project in this area and I was looking for my boundary information. So now I can turn on my boundary information and go in and see whereabouts is the property that Caltrans actually owns. And at the bottom, there's actually a high resolution Google imagery too that we purchase. So this is more accurate than what you see in the normal base maps. So you can actually zoom way in on this imagery and get pretty high resolution that we can get. We've measured it, and this is within about 4 to 5 feet. So it's much more accurate than most of the imagery that's out there. We can get information. I've seen people, and I've heard of one particular project where somebody that I was working with, they actually used this web map, and they had a sinkhole up in Grass Valley. It's in Northern California, it's a city. And they went out and they actually used this web map, came up with a whole application, used the print feature, used the draw feature, and actually created a full exhibit that they were able to then work with this local city and give to them to help solve this problem. So that was all from a web map. So, and this is the power of these web mapping applications, is you, as hopefully those future GIS doers, you can go out and you can create these applications that then people can use very powerfully, even though they have no GIS skills. So GIS is the backbone of many of our processes. And we use GIS to conduct studies. This is a big important one that we have. We use it for spatial analysis on major issues that affect Caltrans. One of the big ones we have in the Sierra Nevadas right now is wildfires. It allows us to do vulnerable assessment studies and do some predictive analysis about where the wildfires will impact our state highway system. It allows us to go out there and do analysis. We do studies on flooding also. And we also do studies on sea level rise and other important topics that are throughout Caltrans. So a lot of these studies allow us to go do things like vegetation control or hazard tree removal. With this information, our actual maintenance workers can go out and use this GIS information and actually put it into real world practical applications, such as cutting down a hazard tree. We also get a lot of information from other state departments. So here's one for wildfire footprints over the last 10 years. We get this information directly from Cal Fire. This is important to us because this information actually shows us where we could have potential landslides because of erosion from a fire footprint. So we know what the likelihood of that is. We could potentially have debris coming down with the water into our culverts and backing up our systems. So we use all of this for efforts such as that. And here a while back, I actually did a whole presentation on some of our wildfire efforts using LiDAR and UAS technology. So we also use our GIS technology. In this case, you can see this image was spun up in a mosaic data set on our ArcGIS image server within our portal. So we use this technology to actually give out information from our UAS platforms. So you can see our truck right there in the middle. That's actually the crew that's actually out doing this UAS flight. So we can go get real world data within hours or days after some of these incidences. We can use the GIS technology to then send that information back to all of our people out there. We can, using the image server, we can set up both WMS services and REST services. We can import them into our CAD programs. We can import them into our ArcGIS programs. So we truly enable that power across our whole organization, whether it's our engineering teams, whether it's our environmental specialists, or whether it's our GIS people. So I always have this, you can see, I love this picture. It's in the background of my own that I use for my web stuff too. So this one is actually part of how come I like this. This is a standard field crew setup that we have. So this is a survey truck that we have where we hold all of our survey equipment. This particular one happens to be one of our advanced technology teams truck with a UAS technology. So we use UAS data, whether it be LiDAR based or whether it be regular photogrammetric based, in a lot of applications in order to get that data out to people. So what you're seeing here, besides our survey field truck to go for our field crew, is this big UAS platform is actually a 7-foot diameter LiDAR UAS platform. So this was the first LiDAR UAS system that was purchased for the state of California. And so we were one of the first ones. We've implemented it many times and collected a whole lot of data with it. And in comparison, you can see one of our older DGI platforms down below. So if you like UAS technology or new tech and want to use it, Caltrans is definitely the place to be. We actively go out there and use new technology, whether it be LiDAR data, whether it be UAS technology, whether it be modern GIS infrastructure. So what you see here is a whole bunch of our drones. So you may or may not know this, that that the majority of our UAS platforms up until this point have been DJI, which is a Chinese-based company. So we've been having to move away from that. So we've been exploring, and these are actually the future UAS platforms that we're going to be moving forward with. Some of them are fixed wing, some of them are quadcopters. I'm just bringing this up because a lot of people have interest in this, and we definitely have a large UAS program out there in all of our districts. And then this one's just sort of cool. I wanted you guys to see this. The SLAM units, these are some of the new units that we've been getting to where you can actually have a LiDAR unit mounted on a backpack that you can walk around with. And then if you get out somewhere where you need to mount it on the UAS platform, you can actually take it off, mount it, and then fly it. So these systems are pretty cool in that they self-register. So they fly these 700-foot loops and actually register in real time to themselves. Pretty cool systems. And then this is, I brought this particular one up because this is one of the problems that we're looking for a solution for right now. Caltrans is definitely, we have not solved this issue yet. So this is one of our first docking systems for UAS technology. And basically it's an automated UAS to where we don't need a Part 107 pilot on site. We need a visual observer, but the pilot can be remotely operated. So I do believe that part of the problem is that these go out, they collect data, they fly back, they download it. In construction, what they need to know is there a change between the two flights? Right now, we don't have good software processes to go do that. And I really think an automated GIS process probably is the solution with some sort of detect change type information in there, but we have not figured this one out yet. And so these are some of the things that potentially, that as we get new employees on board that have new or more modern skills, that you could potentially be going out there and solving. The challenge is, how do we manage this data and how do we do analysis on it to detect these changes? This is one of the many interesting challenges that we're going to have to work through in the future. And it makes working for Caltrans pretty interesting. So GIS is taken over at Caltrans. And so this is just a wall of words, not the best slide presentation, but pretty darn important. So what you're seeing here is part of a list of all of our active IT projects where we're building new IT-based systems. All of these that you see on the screen all have a GIS component as their core component, whether it be residing in our enterprise or whether it be the system. So one I'll highlight in the upper left, our parcel fabric. So we are currently creating a digital version of our right-of-way to track our parcel histories along with many other attributes. So if you don't know what a right-of-way is, many people don't understand this. It's basically like the Caltrans boundary. But Caltrans doesn't own all of our land. In some cases, we have easement through other people's property. So we define it as a right-of-way because we have the right to use that land. Another big one, upper right, rebuilding CA. Much like I mentioned, transparency and OpenSea and data to the public. So this map shows how Caltrans is using our SB1, or the gas tax money, and the IIJA, which is the Infrastructure and Jobs Act money, which was recently passed by the federal government. The TAMS is a transportation asset management system where we're going to actually start tracking all of our assets out there on the highways using GIS technology. And it's going to be the core of how we fund all of our transportation projects in the future. But one of the coolest ones that we have going right now is the CALMS one in the middle and the BIM4 infrastructure. These are truly revolutionarizing how Caltrans is doing business from our engineering side. So I won't go into the BIM4I as much, but for the CALMS one, we've actively been engaging with our software partners out there. And so we've been working with these software vendors as partners in order to meet all of our project delivery needs. We've been working with Esri, Trimble, and Autodesk to future-proof our processes. And through our need for better, faster workflows, we've been getting them to actually engage and work with each other to make their products compatible and interoperable so that no data is lost during file exchange. One of the problems is getting data to go back and forth. So we're actually going to be using an Enterprise GEO database as our system source of record for all of our project data. And through the work with our software partners, we're going to be able to natively push and pull data into and out of our software without data loss. So, and that's pretty incredible without the data loss. Typically, you lose data when you're going back and forth, but we've been working with them to collect all the attributions and to make them work natively. We don't need ETL processes. And this will actually revolutionize how we do our work. We'll have models that can be fully replicated in our survey design and construction and our contractors' software. So here's a more list yet again, a whole bunch of projects in Caltrans that are basically GIS-based projects. So it's definitely taking over. And the one I'm going to highlight is our TSNR project. This one is important because this is actually our safety system. So GIS is going to work in our favor so that we can work. Because if you haven't heard, Caltrans has a 0 fatalities as our goal. So we are trying to work to 0 deaths on our highway systems. Pretty lofty goal, pretty lofty system. But this is one of those systems that'll get us to that. So basically, Caltrans is a pretty great employer. And I would recommend that you think about looking into employment with us as we're changing the way we're doing business. And we've started making GIS the core of our processes and procedures. If nothing else, I hope that I've left you with ideas about enabling the power of GIS for everybody. So think about how you can go out there and change the world. Because I don't know if you guys saw the plenary at this last Esri user conference, but that was what the president of Esri said, is that you are the person that's going to go out there and you're going to change the world with the power of GIS. And I believe that everybody using it can go do that, whether it's in a method like we are in Caltrans. We are making that small part of that change to make our whole society better. So with that, that's what I had for sort of my formal portion of it. If there was questions, or I can demo other work if people are interested in it. So.
Oh, wow, thank you. Yay, that was great. I want to ask our the host, Jeff, is it possible for us to see the other participants in the gallery?
Yeah, I'm exploring ways to do that now.
If they show their faces, they'll be able to see.
Okay, so I guess, does anybody have any questions? I don't see any questions in the Q&A. We'd open it up for questions from anybody in the room or anybody online, because we've got a number of people online.
Any questions in the room?
No?
Oh, so I do see one question popped up in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Last year, Caltrans unearthed an Indian burial ground in Owens Valley on the 395 highway project. How will GIS be implemented to find a solution amenable to the demands of the Owen Valley Indians? Yeah, so what you're talking about there is one of the the problems that we do have at Caltrans that we've been working, and why I'm talking about, some of what we're doing and why GIS is becoming our core. Because with as you get out there and you learn about some of this, a lot of organizations such as Caltrans, we work in very siloed data centers. So there's groups that don't necessarily know what other groups are doing. And so what GIS is doing in a situation like this is enabling us to get that data out. So like a, say an Indian burial ground, that's considered a sensitive data topic. We can't share that out with people. So we have a specific group in our environmental planning group that they do have that information out there, but it just shows up as like an ESA on our plans. But it doesn't always go out and show up depending on the way the project delivery process happened. So one of the ways I'm hoping to solve that particular problem in the future is as we move into more of our digital delivery, I plan on having our GIS layers available to where they can be overlaid digitally onto our plan sets, to where our engineers actually see those sensitive areas in this case. They wouldn't necessarily know what it is, but they would have a big area saying you cannot touch this area. And so that then they can plan the construction project appropriately about that. And a solution where this did come into play is, well, that is a horrible, tragic thing that happened there on a Highway 20 up out between Marysville and Grass Valley up in the north part of the state. We did know about a burial that happened there. And so we actually built a bridge structure over the top of that area, recognizing that it's a cultural resource and that we don't want to be impacting it. So we did a minimal footprint in the correct areas to where we wanted impacted. So, and we actually, like I said, built a full bridge structure to bypass it completely. So, and that's part of how I think GIS can solve some of these problems, is it gives that data that people may not be aware of. It enables people to know about that. And as to,
Hi, Aaron. Thank you for the great talk and very inspiring, but also practical. So are you hiring, I missed the first couple minutes of your talk. Are you hiring any intern for the current students, or is there any like entry-level positions not currently available for GIS?
So I'm pretty sure that we have some entry-level positions out there right now. I haven't gone and looked. So the reason I don't have an exact answer for you with that is because we're a large organization. I do know that my office, we're going to be hiring about 3 entry-level positions in the near future. I don't believe that they're posted currently, but our districts are constantly putting up ads. And when it comes to student interns, my office will be hiring some student interns in the near future, but it's going to be, so it's going to be for 2 things. One's going to be for part of our linear referencing system, and one's going to be part of our highway performance monitoring system. So, yeah. So, but there's many opportunities out there to work as a student, which for your guys' information, that's actually how I started my career, is I worked for a student for Nevada DOT, not even for Caltrans. So yeah, and got into it that way.
Thank you.
There's another question from another student, Justice Batiste. He is asking if you could speak a bit more to the construction forms project, mainly what it accomplishes and how the challenge is being approached at the high level in Caltrans.
Yeah, so that's one's a good one. Justice has a little inside track with us, but I won't go into that. But yeah, so our construction forms project that he's talking about. So we're truly, like I was talking about, you saw the list, 2 pages of IT projects that we have in Caltrans that are modernizing systems. So Caltrans is in a huge modernization process right now. We still have a lot of legacy systems. And when I say legacy, we're talking, I know of 2 systems that are still working on a mainframe, which many of you may not know what a mainframe is. It uses language like Fortran and Cobalt, which is, if you see the old like 60s programming languages, that's it. And so we have to hire specialty people that know those languages to come and work on these systems because they're so outdated that they're difficult to work on. So we're modernizing a whole bunch of this. And the one that Justice brings up is actually the same thing. We have paper forms out on our construction. And so we have this problem that we have, and say there's a huge instance, like an incident out in a construction project. Say we have a contractor who unfortunately gets killed on the job site. So we need to have a system to report that up. Right now, it's basically this phone tag system where the construction RE goes out, he calls somebody, they put out a message, they call up, because the goal is to make sure that everybody's aware that this happened and to make sure that the family of this tragic incident isn't notified through the media, that they actually get notified through our department first. And of course, other stuff too. That's the highest tier potential that we can have on a construction project. But this forms project is basically to use something like Survey 123 and to have our then construction engineer go out there, tag it as this incident, have a drop-down list of the different instances that could happen, whether it's a fatality or say it's just a crash on the job, just a little fender bender. They could pick those different options, and without having to go do the phone tag option and call people and hopefully get the right people, then at that point, the process would be automated. So you would, as that construction RE, you would pick the correct form, the correct option, and then it would route you down the correct workflow. So if it was a fatality on one of our construction projects, it would route it out to all the correct people that needed to know. If it's a fender bender, it would simply send it out and store it into a database somewhere so that we had that information for the future. So this is truly, this is some of the stuff, and that's why I was talking about how Survey 123 is truly important out there. Field maps is truly important, because I see a future where pretty much all of our construction inspectors will be having, well, they currently all have tablets and phones out with them. And I see a future where potentially all of their work in some way or another would be going through a Survey 123 or a field maps application out there. So in many of our field crews, like outside of the construction forms, like our culvert inspection program has already gone that way. They use a field maps application and Survey 123 to do all of our 52,000 culvert inspections. So.
Okay. So I would like to just jump in and tell you that we use all of these technologies in the various classes in our at SSI. Yay. That you talked about. And we could speak about that at length another time. Would anybody else in the room like to ask a question? How about online? I still see there's still 10 people online.
Oh, there was a chat that popped up on our end. Did anybody else see that?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
like citizens.
Yeah, Jean Ches, she says, "Hi, Erin, thanks for your excellent speech. Does Caltrans only hire U.S. citizens?"
Oh, yeah, so that's a good one. So the answer to that is no. So we do hire people. You do have to have the proper documentation, like a green card or some sort. I don't know. I can't go into all the details because I don't work in HR. So, but it's not, we do not have a US citizen requirement on our employment. I have personally hired, it was a student visa with a research, I forget the exact term for it, but they had like a 2-year research capability. So we hired them. So.
Any other questions?
We got one.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Amber. Thank you for giving this talk. I think it's really interesting, like the goal that Caltrans has for like the zero deaths, and I actually read through like the initiatives recently, like for a class, and I was wondering how you think like GIS is gonna like play this new role as like the core of this.
Yeah, so how that's a big part of how that is going to happen in GIS is going to play that role is we're developing, I touched on it briefly, we're developing one of our core systems. It's called the TSNR project. It's the Transportation System Network Revision. And so that is our safety program. So it records all of our collisions from CHP. So basically we get a daily report. I believe I don't do that one, so it may be, I'm pretty sure it's daily report from CHP about all the collisions. We code them into our system, this transportation system network. And currently it's a tabular database, but we are in the process of moving it over into our roads and highways linear referencing system. So GIS is actually going to be the core of that safety system. And part of that is then our safety analysis teams are going to be using some different tools out there that use intersection management tools to where they can actually analyze all the intersections. And they can see how many crashes and collisions happened at specific intersections. And by seeing different patterns, like say, there's a couple common, I'm from Northern California, so a lot of my topics are Northern California stuff. There's a couple of our corridors up here that there was a large percentage of fatalities from people turning left across the highway. So we can see those patterns using this TSNR system in a geospatial format. And that can start making us understand where we need to modify our highway system in order to reduce these fatalities. So that's really how GIS is going to play that role in getting to the zero fatalities, is that we really will be sort of that backbone data providing information for those people. So.
Thank you.
We have another question from a student online, David Perez. He asks, could you elaborate more on the importance of Python and JavaScript languages and/or perhaps where AI programming fits into the Caltrans workflow?
Yeah, so Python and JavaScript. So it's primarily Python. Of course, JavaScript is all your web-based information. We tend to stay more COTS oriented, less JavaScripting. It still comes into play for some of our specialty type web maps, but Python scripting is definitely one of the cores of our GIS community, because like most things out there, we have to do just an insane amount of work with a limited number of resources. And how we do that is by automating those processes. And so we use Python to automate those processes. Like an example from one of my previous jobs I did in the North Region, we had to automate our project information on the web map I showed you. And we used Python scripting to basically go out, geolocate the project. It automatically did it for us. And we took a process that was roughly about a 2 to 3 week manual process, and we turned it into a simple script. And then we can run that script weekly or even daily if we wanted, but we didn't need it that current. So we were running it weekly to update this layer. So that's where we use Python, is really that automation. When it comes to AI and the ML, the important thing about AI is not necessarily the artificial intelligence side, but it's really the machine learning side, that modeling side. That's really what's going to revolutionize Caltrans. So we're actively going out there and looking at companies that can do data extraction. So one of the big problems out there in GIS, in surveys, and engineering right now is LiDAR data. There's no good way to get that data out that's not a very hard manual grind. And so we've actively been going out and looking at companies that could potentially automate that process through machine learning, especially assets from our LiDAR point clouds. So that's one of the big ways. We're also looking at AI for like pedestrian counts, bike counts, because we're trying to get better. We're always working towards multi-mobility. We're working towards a better system for our pedestrians and our bicyclists, because yet again, for our safety initiative, those are some of the hugest fatalities along the highway. And so we're constantly looking at that. And we've been using the AI, especially in like cameras, to do some sort of a pedestrian type count so that we know what type of routes are more actively used, so then we can start providing wider sidewalks and bike lanes and stuff like that. Because the problem that Caltrans bumps into is that we only have so much money And we only have so many resources, so we have to try and put that money and resources at the best use possible. So that's how some of the AI and machine learning is working into the Caltrans workflows. So.
Thank you. We have time for maybe one more question.
Yes, there's another question.
There was one
in the
more
chat
that
box.
popped up on the chat.
Felipe.
Philippa Burgess asked, she says, thank you, Erin. This is an excellent presentation. I'm learning ML along with GIS. So is this an external role or will it be an internal role?
Yeah, so that one we're still working out internally. So we are a government agency or organization department. So it tends to be a little slower. So I do see a future where we will have those people internally, but currently we've been looking primarily at contract support vendors, software companies for that type of information. But I do see in the future us having some of that internally. So currently we do not.
Okay, great. I'm not sure if we have a firm cutoff at past. I guess that's a question for Jeff.
Probably, but I'd also, if we can, those that are in the room, if we could have you go towards the screen and I will take a photo of so we can get Erin in the photo too. Otherwise, it's you guys sitting around tables. So I'm gonna have you guys go, so we can get you in the photo.
So good about that.
No, I am good about it.
All right, everyone move.
Those in the room, go that way.
So Erin,
For us to
Can we
get
ask
participants?
other participants online also turn on the camera if they can?
I thought this would be a part of it, but with the DTS hybrid event as a webinar, we can't share all the videos, and I thought we could. So for all those who attended online, thank you so much, and I will be in touch. And you can, feel free to contact Erin directly if you have any questions. You don't need to go through myself or any of the other professors.
All right.
Oh
my gosh.
Really fun, there's no one in that.
One, two, come on, you guys, let's go. Oh my gosh, so complicated over here. Thank you so much, Erin. I'm trying to also get a straight picture, because
We can adjust that.
he can adjust it, I know.
Photoshop anything.
I know, okay.
All right, thank
Hopefully
you.
I looked okay back here. All right,
Alright.
great.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah,
This is
thank you.
great.
So Erin, when I post this, I'll put the thumbnail will be that slide with your contact information. Okay,
Yeah, that's
thank
fine.
you so much. This was really excellent.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, feel free to reach out to me and email me if you got any other questions. I'm happy to talk with you. So.